us at work, we trained our hiring managers to play poker. Now, you might think that's goofy, but I was in the gaming business, and we did have a poker manager. But poker is a game of people. It's reading people. It has nothing to do with the cards. Whatever cards I have doesn't mean anything as to who wins the bet. It's about the bluff. And a lot of interviewing is about the bluff and reading through the bluff. So do you teach your managers how to see that? Do you teach your managers how to know about that? And then do you tell your managers and show your managers and help your managers to pick people that they might not have? Because it's about taking risks as well. It says in this write-up about my topic this morning that I talk about my diversity program. Diversity is a big thing. There are a lot of protected classes in America. Sure there are. And most people get hired because of their qualifications. If you believe that, you believe in the tooth fairy. Probably not true. But what are you doing about diversity where you work? Oh yes, you probably go out and make sure that you have enough ethnicity and that you've got a basic spread of the age group. But there are groups that are not protected technically or legally. Are you helping to lead the effort to get them into the workforce? And I've used the example, one day, a city councilman from Las Vegas called Steve Wynn and said, I've got a guy I'd like you to interview. Steve says, well, let me call Arte, and the two of us will interview the guy. Who is he? His name's Tony. Yeah, what's he do? Well, he doesn't really do anything right now, but he'd like to get to work. That was the setup for this interview. Steve calls me. I go to his office. We're sitting there, and he says, so what do you think this guy, what do you think? I said, we're in for a shock. If that's all he told you, I think we're going to be shocked. He says, you don't know what you're talking about. In walks a guy, 6'4", cut off t-shirt, and one eye. Big, burly guy, buff, been working out, and that one eye. Now, I'm a recruiter. I'm not going to ask him about the damn eye. Right? But the eye wasn't the story. He said, Tony, so what do you do? He says, I'm in a gang. Oh, great! Gang. We got a lot of experience with gangs, don't we, Steve? So we're talking to Tony, and Tony got this girl pregnant, and she's going to have a baby, and he thinks it's time to get out of the gang, and he'd like to go straight. Well, what have you done, Tony? No, seriously, Tony, what have you done? A little carjacking. Oh, that's great. You know, we do a lot of carjacking here. Yeah, and I sold drugs. Oh, great. You know, this drug testing that we have, we've got nothing to do with you. Oh, Jesus, what's this guy talking about? So we get 25 minutes into it, and the guy's like, he goes, you want to know, don't you? What's that? He goes, the eye. You want to know about my eye? Yeah, we were just going to get to that. Well, we're going to ask you about the eye. Well, what's with the eye? He goes, knife fight. Great. Knife fight. Okay. He goes, and I won. Hey, that's wonderful. We're so proud of you. He goes, yeah, the other guy looked a lot worse than I did. He won't wear an eye patch, he tells us, because it's a badge of honor. I don't know. I didn't want to tell him at Treasure Island we had pirates. You know, I didn't want to even go there. So Steve says, I tell you what, we'll give you a chance. And the guy breaks out in a big smile. Now, I would never have suspected that a 6'4" buff gangbanger with one eye would have broken out in a smile. And I said, we're going to put you to work as a public area cleaner to prove yourself. You know, the guys with the pan and broom? So I pick him up, and come on, Tony, I'll go introduce you. So I take him in to see his new boss. I said, David, I'd like you to meet Tony. And David goes, Howdy, oh, jeez. what's with the eye? And Tony tells him the story. But we hire him. You know, David's okay. I got to calm him down, give him some Valium. He'll be okay. He teaches Tony how to do his job, and he takes Tony to meet all of his coworkers. And all the coworkers go, Jesus, look at that eye. God. And they don't want to work next to a gangbanger. They wouldn't want their daughters to bring home a gangbanger, so why would they want to work next to one? They have no experience whatsoever. You want to talk about diversity? Try putting gang members in where you work. Nobody has any experience with them. And people that don't have experience with other people, that's where you get the intersection of diversity and reality. And that's what it's been about. When I went to school in the 60s, it was all about the civil rights movement. You want to talk about diversity? I know all about it. I grew up in it. It was the anti-war movement and the people that fought against the war and trying to reintegrate those people. I had those experiences. I had no experience with gangbangers. And then I went out and I got a program with the prisons. We started hiring people that were coming out of prisons, because if you don't hire the people coming out of prisons, and they're trained in prison to do a lot of things, but if you don't hire them, if I don't hire them, what are they going to do? They have one skill. And if nobody will hire them, they're going back to that one skill and they're going back to prison. 175 people, and they're all still working at Bellagio and at Wynn Resorts. We hired a probation officer to help us to figure out how to communicate and how to deal with that group of people. You want to talk about diversity? Go to WIA. Go to your one-stops and hire people that have never worked, that have been on welfare all their lives, that are second-generation welfare. You want to talk about diversity? Talk about when you hire 675 maids, and some of them are from Mexico, and some of them are from Nigeria, and some of them are from Somalia, and some of them are from Bosnia, and you want to put that group together. What do you do? How do you lead that discussion in your organizations? Because I'm telling you, that's your discussion. That's not somebody else in human resources. They're hoping you don't recruit those people. But once you do, you've got to lead it. You've got to show them, how do I bring this group together, these groups together, bring them into our organization? How do you find people who have been forcibly relocated here from Laos? How do you forcibly get somebody to work with that group of people? It's by opening up their minds. It's by talking to them. And I think recruitment has an obligation to lead that discussion in our organizations and not leave it up to somebody else or leave it to chance. If I left it to chance, Tony Clark would still be with a pan and broom. Today, he's a shift manager in the public area department. Today, he owns a home. Today, his daughter, who's 9 years old, is proud of her father because she can talk about her father and what he does, and he can proudly take his daughter to her soccer games and stand there with other parents who he's learned to be around. And he's wearing an eye patch because he learned that that was something that the socket wasn't a badge of honor. It was scary to people, and he had to learn that. So I feel best about Tony Clark getting re-energized about being part of society.